Right, we're going to carry on with the Lebanese feast. I thought I'd take the opportunity of just going through what we're going to do, and then I thought I would do separate little videos for each one, and then so you could choose which ones you want to do, which ones you want to cook. So within this sort of Lebanese feast, we're going to do mutabal, which we have done already, and then mudadra, which is lentil and rice dish with onions, an aubergine salad, definitely a tabbouleh, a hummus of course, flatbread, we're going to do chicken shawarma, and what else, a Persian lamb. So we're going to start first of all with the marinade for the chicken shawarma, as that has to marinate for some time before we cook it. And I'm going to give you a close-up of the spices that we need for that. Okay, so now we're looking at the baharat spices, which you can make yourself actually. It's often quite nice to make it yourself. And in there you've got a teaspoon of black peppercorns, a teaspoon of coriander seeds, a small cinnamon stick, roughly chopped, half a teaspoon of whole cloves, or ground cloves as I've got, half a teaspoon of ground allspice, 2 teaspoons of cumin seed, 1 teaspoon of cardamom pods, and 1.5 a whole nutmeg. I've just put 2 teaspoons of ground nutmeg in. So when you've ground all the baharat spices that weren't ground up, so like the cardamom, and what else did I not have ground? The coriander seeds. Mix them up into a fine powder, and that makes your baharat spices. Now it is important with this, it's very important to be exact. There's nothing more disgusting than overdoing the cloves or the allspice. It's not very nice if there's too much of it. So it says in my thing to have the cloves half a teaspoon, so make it half a teaspoon or less. You definitely don't want too much of that. That's one of the times where I'm very exact. One of the few times actually. Right, now mix your baharat spices in with your other spices, which are a teaspoon of ground cumin. Let me show you here. A teaspoon of ground cumin, half a teaspoon of ground coriander, half a teaspoon of paprika, that's the red one, and a quarter of a teaspoon of turmeric, that's another one to be careful with, and then within that we want olive oil, a tablespoon of olive oil, 4 garlic cloves, and the juice of, Greek yogurt, and 1.5 tablespoons of cider vinegar. Now I'm going to put the oil in that. How much did it say again? Olive oil, one tablespoon of olive oil. Cider vinegar, we want 1.5 tablespoons. I get the one with the mother, which is quite nice. Apple cider vinegar, or 1.5 of that. This makes a lovely marinade, and then you add Greek yogurt into that, and the baharat spices, which we have into that half a tablespoon. So that's a tablespoon there, half of that. So now, if you mix your baharat spices, a tablespoon of your baharat spices, in with 1.5 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, a tablespoon of olive oil, 55 grams of Greek yogurt, and then additionally in the spice department you want a teaspoon of ground cumin, half a teaspoon of ground coriander, half a teaspoon of paprika, and 1/4 teaspoon, you have to be careful with turmeric, so no more than that, and then 4 garlic cloves, and that's your marinade. And I'm going to show you how to butcher a chicken to marinate it in this for the shawarma. Now I'm going to cut up this chicken in order to marinate it. Now I'm really no better than anyone else at this, but we'll just have a go. So just if you're taking the breasts off, go down very closely to the breastbone and keep the knife as closely as you can, and then slide along, scraping all the meat from the breastbone. Then just cut. You can use scissors to cut the skin. It's often a lot easier. And then that can go into the marinade. There we go. And same again. Now with the legs, if you just pick up the chicken and break the hip bones, then they're going to be much easier to cut through. Just take it off, actually just take it off the plate. And on a flat surface, just get the hip joint and cut through that, and then you're not trying to chop through bone, which is obviously quite tricky. And there we go. It's another one, just leg and thigh together. Put that in the marinade. And the same with this one, get through the hip joint, so you're not cutting through bone. And have another go, that's it. The skin's obviously, I think, cuts quite easily with scissors. Second bit there. Bit of breast. I prefer buying whole chickens because you then use the carcass for stock, which makes make it nicer. If you're trying to be quick with something, then you could just buy thighs or breasts or something on their own. Now there we are, that's it. Now you can either put the wings in. They're probably not so useful for shawarma, so I'm going to leave those to make part of the stock. Okay, so there you are. The chicken in the marinade, put in the fridge for, if you can do this the night before, that's great. If not, just put it in for a few hours. Okay, part of the Lebanese feast done. And here we got the flatbreads, the tabbouleh, the lentils and rice, and then we've got the chicken shawarma, hummus, and the yogurt saffron mix.